Hello plebs, in this video I'll be going over tiers in Yu-Gi-Oh! For those who don't know, a tier list is like a ranking system for the potential of a deck in any given format. This is not exclusive to just this game, but is also seen in other communities like League of Legends, Overwatch, and Pornhub. The biggest misconception that a lot of you plebs don't seem to understand is that the concept of a tier list and what comprises a tier list is unofficial and player-made. Yes, that's right, Kazuki Takahashi surprisingly doesn't upload the best decks onto a wiki page every format. Otherwise, Black Wings would be the meta. Anyway, I digress. The point is how to define tiers in Yu-Gi-Oh! That's completely player driven, so anything I say from now on is pretty much just my opinion and how I personally would define tiers. Now let's just jump straight into the most controversial tier, Tier 0. The lower the number, the more powerful the deck. My definition of Tier 0 is as follows. A deck that is so powerful that the only realistic chance a duelist would ever have of attaining any sort of success is by playing that deck. A deck that is so far ahead of the competition it simply cannot lose unless it severely bricks. The format is comprised of tops of either only that deck alone, or the vast majority of that deck, with everything else trying to floodgate and hard counter it. That's my definition. There are very few examples of a Tier 0 format or deck in Yu-Gi-Oh! Generally, the best example of Tier 0 players bring is Teledad. There are also others like Six Sam before the emergency ban list, and I would also argue that Pepe before the emergency ban list was also a Tier 0 deck. Now a big controversy in this definition is Dragon Rulers. This is where I'll take the next step down in the ladder, Tier 0.5. Some players don't use this term, but generally the agreed upon definition of Tier 0.5 is like the definition of Tier 0, but instead of one viable deck, there's only two. So in the case with Dragon Rulers, there's also spellbooks. So the next down in this list is Tier 1. A Tier 1 deck is a deck powerful enough to consistently top major premier events like a YCS, and even potentially win the whole thing. The key word here is being able to do it consistently, not just as a one-off stroke of luck. A Tier 1 format would be something like New Challengers, with Clifford, Shaddoll, Burning Abyss, and a bit of Satellanite on the fringes. So Satellanite could be argued to be a Tier 1.5 deck at the time, but I personally feel that using decimal points on the tier lists, other than to define a 2-deck format in the case of Tier 0.5, is basically pointless, because everything after Tier 1 becomes really ambiguous and hazy and vague, and it's really just a bunch of broke duelists trying to argue whose deck is less shit. For Tier 2, I would define these as decks which can consistently top and do well at the regional level, but not at the premier event level of a YCS. For example, Ritual Beasts in their prime had a lot of success at the regional, but very, very rarely did anything at all at a major event. I'm sure you can think of hundreds of examples of Tier 2 decks, but again, the important thing is to remember, can they do it consistently? For Tier 3, I would define these as decks which can consistently top and do well at the local level. Probably things like Super Heavy Samurai, which seems to be really fucking popular where I am, Cardians, and whatever else you people show up at locals with and waste your time playing. After Tier 3, I would simply categorize this as Rogue. Now, pretty much everything after Tier 1 really is basically Rogue, to be honest with you, but I guess an actual true Rogue deck is a deck that just can't fucking do anything, like not even at locals. This would probably be something like Cyberdarks, Agents, Dark World, and basically everything on Rank 10 Yu-Gi-Oh's channel. So that's my tier list. If you disagree with any of the definitions, then do comment down below and share your own definition of a tier list and explain to me why you're wrong. So support me on Patreon and remember to join my Discord server, links in the description down below. And until next time plebs, farewell.